In our headlines on this Friday, August 14th here in South Korea, a White House memo reveals that companies making substantial and sustained investment in American shipyards will be allowed to build up to 2 ships at a parent company's shipyard. Meanwhile, South Korea's exports of ICT products hit a July record of $53.3 billion, surging over 140% from a year earlier as booming global AI demand drives semiconductor shipments. And as a deepening drought grips Gyeongsang-Namdo province, the nationwide firefighting mobilization order has been extended indefinitely, with emergency crew continuing to deliver water to parched farmland. The Trump administration is conditionally allowing as many as 2 U.S. warships to be built at foreign shipyards, offering South Korean shipbuilders a new road into the American naval defense market. Our Lee Ju-yeon explains.
U.S. President Donald Trump has allowed foreign shipbuilders to build 2 U.S. warships overseas, provided they invest in U.S. shipyards. According to a White House memorandum released on Thursday, the plan aims to allow the U.S. rapidly acquire initial vessels from overseas while transferring advanced foreign shipbuilding technology and production methods to U.S. shipyards. At the same time, it drives domestic investment to restore shipbuilding competitiveness to the U.S. Foreign shipbuilders will be able to build 2 vessels in their home country, provided that they satisfy specific conditions. First, they must establish a new U.S. shipyard or acquire a majority stake in an existing one. Trump added that all ships after the first 2 must be built in the United States. Second, they must hire and train an American citizen workforce to operate these U.S. shipyards. Third, they must license their proprietary shipbuilding technologies and techniques to their U.S. shipyards. Fourth, they must source the U.S. supply chain for the construction and maintenance of all ships built at these U.S. shipyards. Among Korean shipbuilders, Hanwha is well-positioned to qualify, as it acquired Philly Shipyard in Philadelphia in December 2024. President Trump has consistently expressed interest in the Korean shipbuilding industry, aligning it with his MASCA, or Make American Shipbuilding Great Again, initiative to revive the U.S. maritime sector.
So we're going to probably look at some of these companies that are coming in from South Korea and other places, and they're working with us on ships, and we're going to also buy some ships that are made outside of the area.
This interest coincides with deepening bilateral cooperation, as Korea previously pledged to invest $150 billion in the U.S. shipbuilding industry as part of a broader $350 billion trade and investment agreement reached last year. Attention is now focused on whether this U.S. memorandum will pave the way for broader opportunities across the Korean shipbuilding sector. Lee Ju-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, over in the Middle East, the UAE has accused Iran of attacking 2 of its state-owned oil tankers transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. Our issue covers this accusation and more.
Tensions in the Middle East escalate after attacks hit vital energy routes. Reuters reported that the United Arab Emirates has accused and strongly condemned Iran after Abu Dhabi's state oil giant ADNOC said 2 of its vessels were targeted in the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday local time. No crew injuries were reported. Emirati officials denounced the strikes as an act of piracy threatening global energy security. This marks the latest incident in a series of hostile actions against commercial shipping in the region, coming just days after another ADNOC tanker was struck in an attack that the UAE says was by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Meanwhile, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis claim to have launched a targeted drone strike against a Saudi Aramco refinery in Jazan. The Iran movement-aligned Saba news agency reported that the Houthis alleged airspace violations by Saudi Arabia as the reason for the attack. This comes as Houthi forces enforce a naval blockade in the Red Sea following airport strikes on Yemen's city of Sana'a. With naval blockades expanding across both the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz, global energy markets remain on high alert as diplomatic efforts struggle to break the deadlock. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Elsewhere, Colombia's earthquake disaster is entering a grim new phase with the death toll mounting and the window to finding survivors rapidly closing. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Rescue efforts are continuing in Colombia 3 days after a powerful earthquake, as the critical 72-hour window for finding survivors has now passed. Colombian authorities say at least 273 people have been killed and around 3,800 injured, while 377 remain officially listed as missing. However, a civilian-run missing person database puts the number of people unaccounted for at more than 4,200. Despite the passing of the so-called golden time, when the chances of finding survivors are believed to fall sharply, rescue teams and volunteers are still searching through collapsed buildings and piles of debris.
If someone got stuck over there, I'm going over there. Sometimes they don't let me in because I'm not from an institution. I don't have a blue cross or green or red. No, but we, the elders, have knowledge. We know what this is.
At some locations, crews have begun removing rubble, even as searches continue, raising concerns that hopes of finding more survivors alive are fading. Rescue operations have been especially difficult in isolated and hard-to-reach areas. In some communities, including areas near the port city of Buenaventura, northwest of Cali, official rescue teams did not arrive until late on Wednesday. Until then, residents were forced to search through the wreckage themselves, in some cases digging with their bare hands in hopes of finding relatives and neighbors trapped beneath the rubble. Authorities say search and recovery operations are expected to continue as the full scale of the disaster becomes clearer. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea's ICT exports are powering to new heights, posting a record high in July as surging global demand for AI chips and related technologies drives another export boom. Our Baek Joo-hee has details.
Korea's information and communications technology exports hit an all-time record for the month of July, exceeding $50 billion for the second consecutive month. Data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources on Friday shows that July ICT exports surged by 140.6% on year to $53.36 billion. Accounting for 54% of total exports, the ICT sector remained a major export driver, making up over half of all national exports for 3 consecutive months. With imports rising 37.3%, Korea reported an ICT trade surplus of around $35 billion. By item, semiconductor exports surged 178.8% on year to around $41 billion, recording triple-digit annual growth for 7 consecutive months. Shipments of computers and peripherals soared 353.9%, extending gains for 9 straight months as SSD exports alone leaped about 500%. Displays edged up 0.5% on rising demand for mobile OLED panels, while mobile phone exports increased 62.6%. By destination, ICT exports expanded across all major markets, with shipments to China jumping 194.7% to more than $22 billion, accounting for over 41% of the total. Exports to the United States and the EU also surged by nearly 187% and 202%, respectively. Experts say that this sharp surge in ICT exports is largely attributable to the recent rise in semiconductor prices and booming demand. Yet concerns are growing over how long this momentum can last, as foreign competitors quickly narrow the technological gap.
With the U.S. pushing for localized production and protective trade policies, along with China rapidly closing the tech gap, maintaining our export momentum will be tough. To stay ahead of these rising rivals, Korea must drive technological innovation and develop next-generation semiconductor products.
Korea's ability to maintain its technological lead while navigating international market shifts will determine whether this record-breaking export trend can be sustained in the long run. 백주희, Arirang News.
Also on the local front, the drought in Gyeongsang-Namdo province is deepening, prompting authorities here to extend a nationwide firefighting mobilization order indefinitely as emergency crew continues to rush water to parched farmland. Our An Sung-jin reports.
Water gushes from a military truck into a dry irrigation ditch. The stream quickly flows toward a parched rice field, bringing much-needed water to crops. Gyeongsang-Namdo province in the southeast of the country is struggling under prolonged drought. In Hamanggun County, near the center of the province, the situation is severe. At a reservoir in the county, the lake bed is fully exposed, and water levels have dropped to an emergency alert level where even with the floodgates completely open, there's barely any water left to release. 15 military water trucks had been deployed to keep the farmland supplied, and for the local farmers, every truckload makes a difference.
During my 28 years of farming, I have never experienced anything like this. Seeing the water come in gives me some comfort, and I'm so grateful.
This operation is part of a nationwide emergency response. National Fire Mobilization Order had been issued to dispatch emergency water supplies across the region. It was originally scheduled for 2 days until Thursday, with some 200 fire trucks from across the country sent to 14 cities and counties to deliver agricultural water. But now the order has been extended indefinitely. With the extension, the number of trucks will be reduced to 100, but water deliveries will continue in areas where agricultural water is most urgently needed based on local reservoir levels. And as the drought continues across the region, the Interior Ministry on Friday established a new task force dedicated to tackling the situation, bringing together officials from the Agriculture and Environment Ministries, as well as other related organizations. The government plans to use emergency funds to increase water supplies and minimize damage for residents and crops. Rain is forecast for parts of the province over the weekend, with some hope that this can relieve the dire situation and offer a lifeline for the farmers. Fire authorities say they will continue to monitor the weather before deciding when to lift the mobilization order. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, travel times on the road are expected to rise during this upcoming long weekend in celebration of Liberation Day. The Korea Expressway Corporation expects well over 5 million vehicles to hit the road on a daily basis, starting from Saturday until Monday. On Liberation Day alone, that is Saturday, August 15th, some 420,000 vehicles are expected to leave the Seoul metropolitan area, leading to longer travel times from the capital region to other parts of the country. For instance, a road trip from Seoul to Busan is expected to take nearly 8 hours, while the drive to the east coast city of Gangneung could take around 7 hours and 40 minutes. For generations, Jeju's Haenyeo have braved the sea on a single breath, passing down not only a way of life, but also a powerful legacy of resilience, community, and care for the ocean. Our culture correspondent Hong Se-jung files this report.
A joyful song drifts across the seaside. The voices belong to the Haenyeo, Jeju Island's renowned female divers and bearers of its intangible cultural heritage. They plunge into the sea to harvest seafood. But unlike most divers, they don't use oxygen tanks. Recognized for their unique traditions and way of life, the Haenyeo were designated as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2016. Haenyeo-run restaurants serving fresh seafood harvested by the divers also offer visitors an authentic taste of Jeju's unique culture. The freshness of the seafood and the Haenyeo's traditional culinary touch have also won over foreign visitors. Haenyeo culture holds significance not only as an intangible cultural heritage, but also as a unique cultural attraction for foreign visitors to Jeju. But as marine pollution continues to harm marine life, the number of Haenyeo is gradually declining.
The waters are polluted, so there isn't much to harvest anymore. For this tradition to continue, there needs to be enough marine life in the sea for the Haenyeo to keep doing what we do.
In order to honor and contribute to preservation of Haenyeo culture, the Haenyeo Museum on Jeju Island provides guided programs to explain its history and traditions.
We didn't really know about the history of the Haenyeo, how they forged their own paths, or much about their lives and culture. I hope more opportunities will be created for people to learn about and understand their culture.
Foreign tourists also showed an interest in Haenyeo culture.
First time listening Haenyeo culture and history. Oh, Haenyeo very hot.
Haenyeo divers today have very diverse backgrounds, from environmental activists and influencer Haenyeo to foreigner Haenyeo.
I hope there will be Haenyeo in the next generation who can continue diving together. And I hope we can have clean and safe seas. I want to help protect the ocean and together with my fellow Haenyeo, carry on the Haenyeo culture.
The Haenyeo culture has lasted this long through the dedication of its members. Now younger Haenyeo are showing the same dedication to keep the culture alive. 홍서정, Arirang News, Jeju.
From modernized designs to everyday styling, Hanbok is being reimagined for contemporary tastes while preserving its cultural identity. Our Cho Young-eun shows us how.
People line up to explore new styles and trends as traditional Korean clothing takes on a fresh contemporary look. This is the 2026 Hanbok Expo in Seoul, Korea's largest exhibition dedicated to Hanbok.
Here, both traditional and contemporary styles of hanbok come together on one fashion platform, showing how Korea's heritage can be reinterpreted in ways to find new meaning for modern audiences.
As hanbok moves beyond special occasions and into everyday wardrobes, the expo offers a glimpse of how this cultural heritage is becoming part of everyday life.
I came here to see what styles and trends are popular this year. Since we no longer live in the Joseon era, I wanted to see how traditional hanbok designs are being adapted into everyday clothing and accessories such as hair ornaments that people can actually wear in their daily lives.
Now in its 9th year, the Hanbok Expo brings together 149 companies under the theme, "The Market Where Hanbok Are Made." Participants have the opportunity to explore the beauty of hanbok through a custom hanbok making experience, making traditional Korean clothing more accessible and familiar.
Hanbok is our traditional clothing, so I've always wanted people to keep wearing and enjoying it. I'm glad that events like this are still being held, because they give us more opportunities to experience and enjoy hanbok.
Also showcased are businesses from Gwangjang Market, which has been a major hub for hanbok production and distribution in Korea for around 120 years, and has now become a popular destination for those looking to experience the roots of Korean culture. The exhibition recreates the entire hanbok making process from selecting fabrics and adding intricate embroidery to completing the garment using traditional sewing techniques.
This market has a history of almost 100 years as a specialized textile market. We want to introduce the craftsmanship of these merchants and show people that Korea has truly exceptional clothing and fabrics. Many people may not be familiar with these details, but our natural silk fabrics in particular are of a quality that can compete anywhere in the world.
From traditional and everyday hanbok to fabrics, accessories, bags, and lifestyle goods, a wide range of products are being offered at affordable prices, drawing a steady stream of visitors. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
This is the world now. In the United States, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is rejecting reports of poor conditions aboard a U.S. aircraft carrier. He said on Thursday that the reports were, quote, completely misrepresented. Two military news outlets, Navy Times and Stars and Stripes, reported suicide attempts and failing morale aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. The ship carries 5,000 people and has been at sea since November 2025. It has been in the Middle East since January, supporting the U.S. war with Iran. Hegseth told reporters on Thursday that the Navy gives every crew, quote, everything it can. A U.S. official said on Thursday another carrier is already on its way to replace the Lincoln. In the United States, a federal trade court has handed President Donald Trump a rare legal win on tariffs. The U.S. Court of International Trade ruled on Thursday that Trump had the power to scrap the de minimis exemption, which lets imports worth less than $800 come in without tariffs. Trump scrapped the exemption in February 2025 for goods from China, Mexico, and Canada using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Trump on Thursday called the ruling, quote, a big win. In Hungary and Romania, record low levels on the Danube River are starving nuclear reactors of the water that cools them. Romania shut down its last working reactor on Thursday after efforts to divert cooling water fell short. Hungary is now running its Pax nuclear plant at 25% of capacity. That plant supplies around half of the country's power. Hungary's prime minister said on Wednesday the government would build a submerged dam-like structure to lift the river. 2 barges could be sunk on Friday to lift water levels. In the United States, 5 investors are suing pop star Selena Gomez over a mental health startup that collapsed last year. The lawsuit was filed on Thursday in a Delaware federal court. The investors say Gomez, as one of the co-founders, promised to use her popularity and social media following of more than 500 million people to promote the company Wondermind. The lawsuit said that the investors put $1.2 million into the company in 2022. Gomez and the startup's 2 other founders have not responded to requests for comment. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Today is Malbok, the last of Korea's 3 hottest days of summer. With humidity factored in, it felt like it was around 33 degrees Celsius in many areas. Heat advisories have been placed once again, and they're now in effect across many parts of the country, including Seoul. And with the atmosphere becoming unstable, most parts of the country will see passing showers of 5 to 40 millimeters of rain today. So keep an umbrella handy on your way home. Rain will start moving into the southern regions tomorrow afternoon, then spread across most of the country by early Sunday morning. Jeju Island and the southern regions could see 20 to 50 millimeters of rain per hour, with total rainfall topping 120 to 150 millimeters in some areas. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 24 degrees, Daejeon and Daegu at 23 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 32 degrees, Chuncheon 31 and Busan 30 degrees. The rain will gradually taper off Monday night, the substitute holiday. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.
한없이 가지고 싶은 것은 높은 문화의 힘입니다. 문화의 힘은 우리 자신을 행복하게 하고 나아가서 남에게 행복을 주기 때문입니다. 나는 우리나라가 세계에서 가장 아름다운 나라가 되기를 원합니다.
surprising rise of fidget toys, the growing influence of AI and semiconductors on love, careers and family life, today we take a look at the trends reshaping young people's lives here and beyond. Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Press Perspective. It's Friday, August 14th here in Seoul. I'm Min Sun-hee. From fidget toys reshaping South Korea's consumer culture and commercial districts to AI and semiconductor jobs influencing dating and birth rates, we explore how unexpected trends are changing everyday life here in Korea and beyond. For this, our freelance journalist Yang Chen-hao with us. Chen-hao, welcome back.
Hello, happy Friday. I'm so glad we're going to talk about toys today.
Lovely. I also have Rui Valdez with Spanish news agency EFE Spain here in the studio. Rui, it's great to have you back.
Nice to be here, Sonny.
Chen-hao, we start with you. So let's begin with what are these fidget toys that we have on our desk today and why are they becoming so popular among the young adults here in South Korea?
So this kind of toys are really become very popular recently and lots of people are talking about. You can see them online and they are basically two types. One is the which come from the Korean word of 말랑. 말랑, probably you know that it means like soft or flexible or elastic. So it's a soft rubber that you can stretch and you can squeeze and you can have so many kinds of 말랭이 in the stores. When you grab the 말랭이 with your hands, it can feel very relaxing and you can get the feeling that you're control of something. And but at the same time, it won't break or fall apart. It won't hurt your hands or skin. So this is 말랭이, and another one is almost completely different or opposite. It's called wakpu pole, and it's a hard wax shell on the outside, and then with soft things filling inside. So if it's like a 말랭이 with like wax outside, and you can easily crush it into your hands like, yeah, and when it breaks, it makes like a cracking sound. And for some people, that can be a way to release their stress and pent up emotions too. And these toys, this kind of toys is not that expensive. I just got this before coming to the studio in the Kosok terminal in the express terminal station. Each costs like about like 2,000 or 3,000 won each per piece. They usually cost like very low, and so many people you can see there, because today I was in the store, I saw so many people, they are really choosing it and they are observing it and then trying to find their favorite one and enjoy the feeling of squeezing it over and over again or crushing them in their hands. And I think the recent popularity, the reason is probably because like the high level of stressing young people, especially at work. And when work gets stressful, people need some way to let their emotions out or to release their minds, so they can clear their minds and get back to work again. And these kind of toys have very, how can I say, distinctive textures. Each is like you can feel that it's so different. And simply touching, rubbing, or squeezing them can give people like a temporary sense of relief from stress. So recently, every people you can see there in the stationery store or in the toy stores, everybody was searching for this 말랭이.
Right, indeed. There is a strange sense of comfort in like touching this texture. Right, Rui, I believe you have two daughters at home. You've probably tried these fidget toys, right? Because you have quite a selection there on your table.
Yes, exactly. I brought this from home, and honestly, when I knew about the topic of fidget toys, in the moment, I didn't realize exactly what we were going to talk about. And I was like, fidget toys? Well, what does this mean? Then I do a little research, and I'm like, oh, of course, these toys, my house is full of these toys. I'm a journalist, but I'm also a parent, so sometimes you miss these trends because your mind is occupied in other things. But I didn't realize this was a part of this huge trend, and very interesting one, as Chen-hao was explaining, linked to releasing stress or taking some time off from screen, etc., etc. But well, on my side, yeah, it was definitely through my daughters that I got into these toys. At the same time, it's nice. It's an interesting toy. As a parent in the house, sometimes it's hard to cope with the mess. I mean, they are in the floor. You need to wash them a lot because they get all the dirt from it. So in a personal basis, they have been a little bit stressful to have so many around. But well, anyways, that's just on a personal note. Clearly, many people like them and many people are consuming them. And not only in Korea. Just recently, I just came back from vacation from Canada, where my two nephews live. We went to visit. They are also very young. And whenever we went to a store, what they wanted was these toys. And they wanted the malangi, of course, they call it fidget toys, I guess, in Canada. But it was this exactly same type of toys that my daughters wanted. In fact, this one is from Canada. They bought it there in some kind of like a dollar store. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so now reading about it and discussing it right now, well, I get to know that this is really an huge trend in Korea and also apparently in other countries. But yeah.
Right, indeed. And here in Korea, Chenhao, this fidget toy craze is even breathing new life, I understand, to struggling commercial districts in the capital, Seoul. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, so when we talk about toys, right? When we talk about toys, we always buy it for babies or kids. But recently, like for people in Seoul, one of the best places for shopping toys is the toy street or the toy market in Changxingdong, near the Dongdaemun subway station. And here you can find all kinds of toys and stationery products for children from babies till like 12 or 13 years old. I've also visited the toy street very often in order to buy, like, sometimes I buy the toys. Like, for example, I bought the toys there for Stephen Bowry's daughter, Cheha, when she was turned like 3 years old. But with South Korea's declining birth rate, the growing popularity of online shopping nowadays, like we can see that people or schools increasingly they purchase those educational supplies or even toys from internet. And so the customer base of the toy street or the toy community has gradually been disappearing. And same as me, for example, I told you like I went to the Dongdaemun the toy market to get the toys for Stephen's daughter. But like this year, I chose like online shopping for the birthday gift for Rui's daughter this year. Yeah, so these days people do most of their shopping through the online, and so they are less interested in coming to the toy stores or the streets to browse and choose toys. But what's interesting is that recently, because of the popularity of marlengi and the wakubol, this has brought more adults, more young people over like 20 years old or 30 years old to Changxingdong, to the toy street. And most of them, they are willing to come in person, just look for the malengi or wakubol that suits them. And that's because both these toys are all about the sense of touch or feelings. And for example, a wakubol, it can also like crush almost immediately, so you can't really try it in the stores. But with the malengi, you can just feel it directly, and you can just choose it. So you can enjoy it in soft and very elastic textures, and then you decide which kind of malengi you want, and you want to take it home. So many customers also say that the experiences of coming to the toy streets to try to choose one of their favorite, it becomes very like interesting progress. And finding the street relief toy that feels right for you can almost like feel like a treasure hunt, and you finally find the right one. It gives you a sense of satisfaction or accomplishment.
Right, indeed. And speaking about a treasure hunt, Rui, I understand beyond borders, the fidget toy Nido and that pink one, the one you're holding, that is the Nido, has reportedly triggered a related hunting experience. Could you tell us a bit more about this? Yes,
interestingly, this Nido got somehow involved in the K-pop world, and that is part of the reason why it became so popular. Rose, one of the members of Blackpink, was promoting it. It became this craze. People wanted the Nido, especially one called the Nido Ice Cube. And this was around April when it really hit the peak. And it went up to regular price that is around $6 to $500 in some places because it just sold out. $500 US just one. At the same time, and now currently the craze has decreased to a point that you can find them almost like a double the original price, which is not as high as before, but still they say some variants can go much above that. So it depends on the model. People want this. Was very successful, I guess, advertisement strategy by Rose. And yeah, so at the same time, as I was mentioning, this has crossed borders. Many people used to think that it was just a Korean trend. As I mentioned, well, I can see it in Canada. And there's also reports from Japanese media that they're becoming very popular there, interviewing kids that say that in their school, at least one of their all their friends have at least one of these malangis or different types of these fidget toys. And yeah, they also relate in Japan with things related to the satisfying sense, to the stress, to releasing stress by squeezing them. And the price range is also quite similar to this. They also talk about they interview some kids saying that they become kind of addicted to the feeling, so they cannot let go of them. It made me think that my daughter, the youngest one, wanted to sleep with one of these. She couldn't go to bed if she didn't have this malangi. So yeah, like, I mean, there's something about these toys and this hunting. This seems to continue.
Right. And against this backdrop, Chanel, I wonder, how are experts explaining the appeal of these fidget toys among the adults here in the country?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I personally think that this is probably has something to do with the high-level working-related stress among young generations. When work becomes stressful, you need some way to release, and they can clear their minds and go back to work. And also, economists here in South Korea also pointed out that young generations and young consumers are increasingly looking for small moments of happiness that are very easy to access and affordable. The stress relief toys like this may only cost, as I just mentioned, like only 2,000 or 3,000 Korean won, but the value created by choosing it, by touching it, and sharing the experiences on social media, on Instagram, on Threads, or even on TikTok, can go far beyond the value of the product itself. And it's not just only malengi and wakubo. I've also seen another type of product online in the United States. It's designed to look like a person's face or skin covered with lots of pimples and blackheads. And for people who are sensitive to the clustered patterns, it can look really disgusting and make them feel extremely uncomfortable or inconvenient, right? But these kind of toys, when they press their fingers onto the skin, on the pimples or the blackheads, they can actually squeeze and pus and make the, how can I say, the squeeze out the pus. Yeah, like this, and then something comes out. Yeah, so for many people, the process itself can provide a sense of stress relieving or psychological satisfaction as well. And also in Taiwan, I would also like to try to share another thing, that some children in the primary schools who like to put glue on their backs of their hands or arms and keep it for like 3 or 4 minutes, let the glue dry, and then peel off the layer of the glue, and almost like peeling off their skin. So it can give them a surprisingly satisfying sensation as well. And I think the psychological effect is quite similar to like malengi too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the producer of the show, the toy that you're holding right there, she claims that thing feels like a piece of peace, that is, inner peace within your palm.
Yes, it's very healing or very caring. Right.
Right, indeed. In the meantime, Ruth, there has been a few security concerns with regard to these toys as well, I understand. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, I saved it for this moment. As I mentioned, they're nice toys, interesting, but they also come with some cautions that people need to take. Immediately when I saw these toys in my house, the first thing I thought, what happened if it bursts? Like, especially this one, I just thought, what's inside of this? Like, my kid is 3 years old, so she's still in this stage that she cannot really recognize exactly substances. She's very curious with liquids, with fire, and different things, with poking. So I see her very curious on poking this. And yeah, it crossed my mind. I got concerned. And then after reading more about it, yeah, it turns out you need to be careful. Especially, it doesn't mean that all these toys have hazardous materials, but some of them do if you don't check well the quality, the brand. So many people or experts recommend that you're really careful on selecting like a recognized brands, on reading the tags, the cautious tags. they quote in a case in the UK where they had to recall what they call the squishy dumpling, which was kind of like a malangi. It has excessive levels of benzene inside, and this substance is super dangerous. It's like it can cause cancer, including leukemia. But yeah, well, this is a very specific model or brand. At the same time, as I say, kids are curious, so maybe the way we can split this is, if you're an adult, probably it's hard that you're gonna get some kind of harm because of this. But especially with young children and kids, for example, there's many cases that report, for example, in Dong Ailbo, a case in the United States that children put, that this malangi exploded in a car by getting very hot. And the hot silicone, because it is silicone, but it gets attached in a young girl and it provokes serious burns. They also quote some social media posts and cases also of children that put them in the microwave to make them even softer, and then it can also peel, or when they touch it, it gets attached to their skin. So yes, we need to be careful. We need to check what exact product and what are the warnings. As a parent of young children, well, I'm not gonna throw them away, but I would now be uncomfortable to know that they're alone with the toys. Probably I will just make sure that I'm there while they're using them.
Right, of course, for sure.
Another problem I want to share is that it might be not like environmental friendly, because mostly this like made by silicone or like plastics. So if people just get it and then throw it away, it becomes like trash.
Right, something to think about, of course, for sure. Jenna, let's now turn to another issue of much interest. According to the foreign media, people working in AI and semiconductor industries, they're becoming increasingly sought after in the dating scene. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, so in the past, like men who were like lawyers, doctors, professors, or accountants, these are often being considered as highly desirable marriage prospects. But these days in South Korea, that image seems to be shifting toward men who are working for Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix, because you can see that, for example, recently SNL Korea, the Korean version, the Saturday Night Live had this hilarious sketch about exactly this trend. Like, for example, in the show, about men in sloppy clothes walk into the high-end fashion and luxury store, and at first the female employees, the staffs, they don't seem very particularly interested in him. But then when he took off his jacket, revealing that the words of SK Hynix on the back of his shirt, suddenly everyone is amazed, and he becomes so popular in the stores. The reason is that both Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, they have been benefited enormously from soaring memory chip prices and rising stock prices. As we have talked about this kind of issues before, their employees can also receive year-end bonuses worth 6 figures in US dollars, and making them highly enviable in Korean society. So as a result, more and more young Korean women are now reportedly hope to find employees of Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix, especially engineers, as potential marriage partners. And the idea is that marrying someone from one of these companies could provide financial security and allow them to enjoy a more comfortable and prosperous life in the future. Indeed, a very similar phenomenon can actually be seen in Taiwan as well. That some women, we can hear that they are jokingly saying that if they marry someone who works for TSMC, or if they marry with engineers, they will be able to live in a good life. But I think we should also look at this from the perspective of the men who work at Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix or even TSMC. They might wonder, they might think about, oh, are people genuinely attracted to me as person, or are they just only attracted to me because my wealth, my money, or my financial prospects are increasing? And if it's the latter, the reason, then how much genuine affection is really involved in that relation or the marriage? And also, like, more importantly, can that kind of relationship actually last long? That's why I'm very curious. I think that's something words to think about. They're perhaps marrying someone who works for one of these major companies. For semiconductors makers, could make things like buying a home or investing more, or even moving abroad easily, easier in the future. But ultimately, maintaining a relationship isn't just about money. It's also something to do with personality, we call like a compatibility, and whether two people can actually get along. So I don't think it's quite as simple as finding someone only from the Samsung or SK Hynix or TSMC with a good job, and assume that everything else could work out eventually.
Right, for sure, for sure. Rui, Bloomberg claims AI is rewiring Korea's career choices, the dating scene, and the culture here. What have you been observing?
Yes, very much in the line of what Cheng Hao is saying. The article in Bloomberg and many other articles are pointing out that chip workers are becoming the new elite of Korea, as this sketch of Saturday Night Live, Korea, that became viral. Yeah, right now, let's say, if you compare to the past in Korea, but I would say in most countries, you would say, a lawyer, a doctor, those would be the biggest prospects to have like an economically successful life. Probably in this service, they will be in the top of, let's say, potential marriage, or people that want to get married with those people in those professions. But now in Korea, with the AI boom, it has changed, and now people are just adding the chip workers also into this equation. The article, well, what happened is that, of course, we all know this, I would say this competition between the two biggest companies in Korea, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. SK Hynix becomes growing exponentially because of the AI boom, and this pushes almost, let's say, this pushes that Samsung Electronics almost go to one of the biggest strikes in their history. They resolve it by offering huge bonuses to their workers in a similar way that SK Hynix already was doing. So yeah, all this is all over the news. Of course, people are watching this. This goes all the way into the international media. And yeah, now when we talk about the chip workers, you cannot stop thinking on these bonuses, on these successful, let's say, economically successful lives. Yeah, the culture also, in the article, they describe what's happening in Dongtan, south of Seoul, with the prices of the apartments, with the lifestyle there, people going for luxury goods, so people that work in the same semiconductor industry. And, well, the sketch of Saturday Night Live is also mentioned as a way that it has now entered pop culture. And finally, they talk about student life. Right now, they quote Jongho Academy data, and in Seoul National University, the programs that are most demanded are the ones related to semiconductors. They were harder to enter in the 2026 admission cycle than in natural science, for example, in this the major university. So yeah, for decades, medicine was like classic path, maybe in Korea for top students. Now semiconductors look like a more direct route into this AI boom.
Right, indeed. And before we end, very quickly, Chen, I'd like to circle back to something you mentioned about Taiwan and TSMC. Yes. I understand the birth rates there also vary depending on where semiconductor hubs are located. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, because like people who are working in the the scientific complex, the industry complex, like for example, like couples, they are more wealthy. So that means that they are more affordable to have kids. So that's why we can see that in the Hsinchu area or in the Tainan or Taichung area, now we have more the complex, industrial complex area. And most of them, after they get married, the couples, and they can get a more better house, and they are more easy to have kids because their salary or their income level is relatively higher than other average people in Taiwan.
Right, yeah. I see. More children and more squishy toys on Malang is that. Yeah. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Chen Hao, as always, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you.
Rui, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Sonia.
Right, whether it's a pocket-sized toy or a high-tech career, today's trends no doubt offer a fascinating glimpse into how our society is evolving and where it may be heading next. Thank you for watching.